question I have for you guys. This is probably the biggest one that I get in my messages, and it is talking about lust. I can't break this. I feel so unworthy of Jesus. I feel like a lot of times when we're entrapped in lust, we feel like we don't even want to show our face because we're in so much humility or humiliation. And I guess, what advice would you give to a young man out there that feels like the devil just has a grip on his life with this lust, and just what advice you guys have for being able to overcome that?
If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. Just cut your hand off, probably,
Yeah, just cut it off, guys. Yeah.
No, we actually we know a guy who knew a guy who actually did that. And
wow.
So that's not a way. I was completely being facetious there. That is not a way I would deal with lust. So please don't take that seriously, anybody who's listening. No, I think that's metaphorical, but it's obviously Jesus was showing how seriously we are to take it. Because, look, I hope it's encouraging in one way and depressing in another to hear that 2/3 of pastors look at porn. So encouraging in one sense, in the sense of even spiritual leaders of the church and beyond have a seriously difficult time with lust. And then depressing in the other sense of, wow, I hope they start living more consistently in their faith. So everybody has, and it goes on, it's past just pastors. There's a ton of different ministries and that kind of thing. The statistics are overwhelming. So everybody has a tough time with lust. Pornography has never been a main struggle of ours, but many other sins certainly have been. And I'm not saying lust hasn't been a struggle. Lust has definitely been a struggle of mine, even though I haven't had a big porn problem or anything like that. It's still something I have to push back against every day. And before you're married, it's 10 times tougher in many ways. Some people would say it's not. I found that for sure to be the case. So understand, it's so easy. I just did a sermon on Elijah in 1 Kings 19 wanted God to take his life. Moses in Numbers 11 wanted God to take his life. Jonah in Jonah chapter 4 wanted God to take his life. All the top spiritual leaders dealt with suicidality. They got so depressed they wanted God to take their own life. Okay, that's a sin. Okay, David, the man after God's own heart, read Psalm 51. How much he has to repent because he fell into the lust trap. He fell so deeply into the lust trap that he was willing to put Uriah at the front lines with Bathsheba, obviously bathing on the roof, and he puts Uriah at the front lines of this war in order to kill, basically it's murdering her husband, so he can sleep with Bathsheba, and yet he's called the man after God's own heart. So I bring up those examples to say, hey, look, if you're dealing with lust, you're not too far from the kingdom.